Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I'm Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach, and today with us we have Dr. Robb Kelly. Now, this is part two to the alcoholism podcast or the addiction podcast. This is so important for us. I've had an absolute eye opening journey listening to Dr. Robb Kelly. Please make sure you listen to the first part before you listen to this because it's going to be a continuation and you don't want to miss this. How do we have these conversations with the partners who are alcoholic or people in our family who are alcoholics?
Have to share from the heart. You have to say, hey, let's get you help. Do the thing I talked about before with the dialogue. And then it's this journey together. You know, when a wife, this is our findings, when a wife is involved in the husband's recovery journey and does her own work, the success rate of the alcoholic goes up by 42%.
Wow.
So dialogue and loving conversations. And then here's the crux, guys, and you're not going to like this, but if he doesn't continue to get help, you either kick him out the house and change the locks, or you get your children and you move out, because it will turn to violence and he will be a danger to your kids and you. You've offered the assistance. You've been loving and kind. You've explained what you go through when the alcoholic drinks. If that doesn't work, get out the house. And I get criticized for this all the time. I've seen what happens in a house when I was violent, when I was drinking. I've seen that. I speak the truth because of my experience. It will never get any better. It will always get worse because it's a progressive illness. So last night he drank a bottle of vodka and slapped you. A couple of days later, he'll drink a bottle and a bit and punch you. Next you go, he's going to injure you, gun, knife, whatever it is. And the crazy thing about all this is he won't remember.
That's crazy. And he won't remember, he won't even understand that he'd done this.
No. Now, 90% of people on death row do not remember the act that got them there. So when they actually kill someone, they're in blackout. They didn't realize they'd done it. And you wake up in the morning and you're in a jail cell and go, what did I do? And I've done it loads of times. And you go, well, you actually stabbed your wife last night, or you actually run over somebody, or you actually, got in a fight in a bar and you kill somebody, and that's your life over. You're done. So it's just really important that you understand this. And it's important to a partner that they understand this, that it is not the alcoholic's fault, the drug addict's fault. It's not. It's a disease, but it can be controlled.
Let's say there's an alcoholic who, like the journey that you'd gone through, has lost everything, lost family, lost friends, and is alone. They've stumbled upon this. They're listening to you right now. What is the steps that they can take? Because they don't have a partner. They don't have somebody that can help them through this.
Listen, the best thing I would advise, because we are the premier leaders in the addiction world and alcoholism, is jump on the website. There's a couple of messages you can send, but there's a button on the website that will bring you straight through to my cell phone. It doesn't go to my offices, doesn't go to my assistant, doesn't go to my secretaries. It goes straight to me, because I would rather give you a 10-minute pep talk and direction than hear of your funeral. So you are never alone. As far as when we're awake, when we get up from the bed, you are never alone. You call us, and we will direct you somewhere, or we will work with you ourselves. But you're not calling. We're not like other treatment centers. This isn't about the money for us. I could retire tomorrow. We're a multi-million-dollar company. I could retire tomorrow. This is about helping you. And if we give you a price and there's no way you can afford that, we will work with you. How much you spend on alcohol? Spend $1,000 a month on alcohol. Right. Your price is $1,000 instead of $20,000. Let's try and get people well. Please don't be sat there. You see, the thing is, if you're sat at home and you don't think you're worth anything, you don't think you're going to amount to anything, you're drinking yourself to death, and you know that you're worthless, I want to apologize to you, because somebody's put that there. We are born with $1 million minds. Why are you hanging around 10-cent minds? Why? What happened to them dreams when you were young? I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be What happened? I'll tell you what happened. They were kicked out of us by our family and friends. That's what happened. Dare to dream. Know you can recover. Call me for a 10-minute pep talk. We'll direct you, and let's get well together.
That's fantastic. I'm so happy you said this because this is the crux of it, right? All this trauma starts at one point, but is then just perpetuated throughout your life
Yeah.
till this point in time when you're saying that I'm completely worthless. There's absolutely no point in
Yes.
continuing this.
Yes.
And I've had conversations like this with people, and I can see what you're saying. There's no hope for the future. Why should I even think about continuing? But there's always hope.
Exactly. Because we want to please our mum and dads,
Yeah.
especially dads if you're a guy. Okay. So this is what happens. You can't go to college like your brother. You're too stupid. How many times have I told you you can't do this? Don't be silly. That's ridiculous. So we take on them roles. And how we please our mum and dad is by not going for that job, by being ridiculous, by being stupid. Now, this is crazy thinking, but that's what we do.
Mhm.
So again, anything less than nurturing as a child is child abuse. You've done this wrong. You've done that wrong. You do this. You've got dads do it all the time. Dads do it all the time to their adult son. And they listen because they're our caregivers, they're our peers, they're our family. We listen and then we try and replicate what they tell us. So if you have a parent going, you know something, you can be an astronaut. Why don't we look into that? The kid's 9, 10 years old. He will grow up thinking he can do anything, which is true. Quantum physics tells us that. If you don't think you can be CEO of that multi-million dollar company, shame on you. The only difference between you and the guy, the CEO, is he believed he could do it. It's 2022. You don't need college degrees today. The college degrees used to have a great ROI on them. They were amazing. You went to Oxford like I did. Oh, you could get a job anywhere. Them days have gone. If you want to be a CEO, let's take steps towards that position. Quantum physics tells us, for instance, that we can be 25 places on a basketball court at the same time, nothing solid. Where do I want to be? I ask myself, over near the goal. Get the ball, slap it in the net. I'm the hero of the game. How do I get there? Here we go, guys. You walk over and you take that position. Because once you can visualize it, you can hold it in your hand. 7,500 patients have all done this. This is not a myth. It's not a dream. It's not by luck. We can have these things we want because when we clear ourselves of all addictions, you will find that the mind, which sits inside the brain, there are two entities, that's blown somebody's mind. Once you make your mind up to do this, the brain will follow and you are capable of changing the world.
Yes. So it does start with the thinking process and the way that you start visualizing yourself. It,
You ask any entrepreneur, you ask the guys running Apple, running Google, Amazon, they will say that they made their mind up to make a change. If you're chasing the money, guys, you're missing the dream. If you follow the dream, the money will come. Don't worry about it. Success will come. Don't even worry about that. As long as you're following your dream. All them guys I just mentioned, Amazon, Apple, they followed a dream. They made their mind up one morning that they're going to change the world. So if you want to be a CEO, if you want to be behind a counter in a department store, you can change the world from there. Well, that's ridiculous, Dr. Robb. No, it's not. Because let me tell you a quick story. Me and my assistant went into a supermarket to get a cake with writing on it for somebody's birthday. And while she was choosing the cake, an old woman came from the back and we were chatting and laughing and back and forth. And then we left and we came back the next day because they'd done all this nice writing. And when I was there, the lady come back and says, "Can I have a word with you?" And I said, "Yeah, of course you can." And she pulled me to one side and said, "I want to thank you." I said, "What for? Buying the cake?" She says, "No. You made my day yesterday. And let me tell you why. 6 months ago, me and my husband worked here and my husband died. And I've not been able to come and work for 6 months. Yesterday was my first day in work. I was scared. I was petrified. I was nervous. I was sad. I was depressed when I came back to the workplace where he died. And you walked in and you made my day." Really? That's how important it is. You should always compliment 3 people every day. Why drag somebody down when you can lift them up? You
yeah.
never know what people are going through. Rich people, poor people, busy people, lonely people. You never know what they are going through. And a kind word or sentence will change their lives. And if you don't believe this, the next time you're out in a crowd, pick somebody out, especially shoes. Shoes are a great one. I'll tell you why. You walk up to someone, "Hey, man, lovely shoes, lovely training shoes, sneakers. I love them." They'll go, "Oh, thank you, man." Walk past him, then look back at him. He's going to look at his shoes at least 2 times. He looks down at his shoes. He's admiring the shoes. You've just made his day. What did it cost you? 5 seconds of your life while you're doing nothing anyway. That's how much impact we can have on each other. It's like, stop hating on people, start loving people, and your life will take off. Every time I say thank you to somebody or compliment somebody, dopamine's released into my brain. It's a win-win situation. So get out there, compliment people, help people. I bless somebody monetary because God's given me all this money to help people every time I leave the house, and sometimes not. We give $100,000 away last year to people who needed our help, who people that were lonely, broke, wanted to see the kids at weekend, lost them through the addiction. This is about helping. That's all. To be of service to somebody else is the greatest job that is ever invented.
Mind blowing. Mind blowing. Doctor, after this podcast, I would love to have a conversation with you about this because we run an NGO, and a large number of the kids that we work with, their parents are alcoholics or have died because of alcoholism. It's a big thing in the rural parts of India. So I would love to have a conversation with you about this.
Hello, hello, hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On A Sip of Finance, Priyanka doles out tips on how to choose the right mutual funds. On The Wire Talks, Siddharth talks to Apar Gupta, Executive Director of Indian Freedom Foundation, on the need for a law to protect personal data. On Ikaduka Economy, Abhinav talks to Vikram Limse, CEO of Helicon Consulting. The duo discusses the impact of economic recession on our lives. On Think Fast, Varun and Sushita give their take on TikTok venturing into music and what that means for its counterparts. And on A Niche Thing, Anish talks to the founders of Plant People, Komal Garg and Angus Bhalla, on how to select the right indoor plants. Once again, would like to remind you all about our merch. There's some amazing stuff out there. Please go to our website, ivmpodcast.com, click on the shop tab, and do check out what's available there. I'm sure you'll find something you like. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And also, I'd like to remind you all to please tell a friend about this show if you're enjoying it. It will give you somebody to talk to the show about. Yeah, it really does help us too, so that too. Also, please rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on, and you can check us out on YouTube. We have a page on our website which basically lists all our YouTube channels. Please go check that out. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week, Boat Lifestyle, Small Case, and Intel vPro. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Doctor, are there steps in which you take people? Like, I know there are different programs that have steps. Does your program also have steps? How does it
It
function?
can
If you
or
can
it
just take me
can't.
through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends if you believe in a 12-step program. There's a book out there, and it's called The Big Book, and the information in that book is mind-blowing. Out of all the studies and teachings and education, which is around 26 years in colleges, universities, and school, it's a great piece of literature. It's in my top 3, and I studied with the best of the best. So there can be 12 steps, or mostly we use psychology, we use behavioral science, we use neuro-linguistic programming, which reroutes the brain, and we use somatic experience, which is more about the body feeling what's going on. The body will tell you what's going on before the brain even knows. And one prime example is a gut feeling. Feeling is real. It goes back to the tribal days when one of the tribesmen would get a gut feeling that danger was near. They would either close camp and move, or they would be prepared to fight or do whatever they have to do. We never use the gut feeling today because we think it's a myth. Your body's screaming at you every day, and telling you, and all of a sudden the brain finds out about it, and that's probably when it's too late. So the saying, go with your gut feeling. So we use a lot, and we will go to any lengths to make sure that you have a happy life. Any lengths. I mean, if I have to cheat, and we had the guy once came to us, 21 years old, never had a girlfriend, no confidence. So we actually hired a bar, and we stuck a load of models in there, and that I paid for, and we took him in. He had no idea. We said, hey, let's go to them and talk. He was nervous, but we went over. He started talking to one of them. I moved away. He was there all night speaking to him. 3 days later, he had a girlfriend. Whatever it takes to get you well, we will do. We are aggressive at that. We're not going to take you in and say, hey, let's talk about relapse prevention. This is not about alcohol and drugs. This is about being the best person you can be. So when you attain certain things, when you change the world, because everybody can do it, when your kids see you changing the world little by little, guess what? Your kids are going to grow up and do exactly the same.
Mind-blowing. the way that you can change this, and love the fact that you're using so many different modalities in what it is that you're doing, because that approach works. And you're saying all of this can happen from home, so it is like I'm sitting here in India or anywhere in the world, I can still follow
Oh
this.
yeah, we have a lot of people from India because first of all, their religion or the surroundings, they can never tell anybody they have a problem. But yeah,
Okay.
we have, like I say, almost 100% success rate, and we've been doing telehealth for about 10 years. 9, 10 years when Zoom and the other likes came out. So I actually went back to college for a second PhD in behavioral science. That's why we can do online, because we watch every single movement that you make any eye. So yeah, it's very successful. It's the privacy of your own home, and nobody needs to know.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Dr. Kelly, my last question is, after that moment when the person with the Bible, you met, he met you, what happened then? How did your life turn around to what it is today?
Okay, well, Derek was his name. He took me back to his house and said, "You can stay as long as you like, but you've got to come to these 12-step meetings with me." Well, I've been and I hated them, but it was a dry bed. I went to one of the meetings with him, and I heard a guy called John talk, and he announced himself as a recovered alcoholic. I walked over and I said, "Can you help me? Can you be my sponsor?" And he said, "No, but I'll be your spiritual advisor for 12 weeks." I walked to that man's house every Wednesday evening. I left Derek's house at around 6, got there for 7, walked home 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I got home every single Wednesday for 12 weeks. On the last day there, he told me things would change in my life. And the next day they started to change. I got a part-time job, it turned into a full-time job. But I know that when I got there, he taught me about God, he taught me about philosophy, he taught me about the world, how to be kind. And after my 2 weeks, I went to the gas station, petrol station. I bought him a little teddy bear and a little card. And I wrote on, that's all I could afford. I wrote on, "Thank you, John, for introducing me to God." That took the compulsion to drink away. And I went back to his house, his apartment. When I got there, nobody was in. I was banging on the door, and the next door neighbor came out and says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, where's John relocated to?" And she said, "John, there's no one in that apartment for the 3 months I've lived here." So I let her close the door, and I thought, she's crazy. So I knocked on the left-hand side door, and a man came to the door and said, "Can you tell me where John's moved to?" And he said, "John?" I said, "Yeah, the guy next door. That apartment's been empty for 12 months. It's derelict. You can't actually go into it, And I was confused because I'd walked there. I knew I had the right place. So I walked back to the meeting several nights later, and I said, "Can you remember 3 or 4 months ago when I came in?" "Oh, yeah, we remember you, Rob. Yeah, awesome." So remember the John I was speaking to over near the coffee machine? He said, "John." I said, "Yeah, over near the coffee machine." He said, "Rob, you were over near the coffee machine speaking to yourself." I've never found that man. But with the
Wow.
power he gave me, he told me that I'd do God's work. He told me that I'd come to America. This was 30 odd years ago. There's where my journey started, and the knowledge and the belief that God told me, and if you don't believe in God, this will sound crazy, to go move away from my hometown and guarantee that people can recover. We are the only company in the world that offer a money back guarantee if you relapse while following our program. And people think that's insane. But guess what? After 20 or 30 years, I've never given a refund. It tells you a lot.
Rob, that's a brilliant story. Thank you for sharing this with us. And I know for many people who might not believe in God, like you said, it might sound crazy, but it actually does happen like that in our lives, and it's absolutely bananas. Fantastic.
You have to remember that God's circumstantial. Okay. And
Yeah.
people go, "Oh, I don't believe it. I'm not sure." Listen, God's circumstantial. I'm traveling from a plane from UK back to Texas several years ago. It was raining, it was storming, it was horrible weather. And we took off from Manchester. About 40 minutes into the air, the captain came on and he said, "Hey, we're going through some turbulence. Put your seatbelt on. The restrooms are closed. Nobody stand up. It's going to be a bumpy ride." And about 40, 50 seconds later, the plane dropped. What seemed to be like an hour, but it dropped, and everybody grabbed hold of the side of the chair, and everybody took a breath in. And you could hear a pin drop on that plane. My friend leaned over to me and he said, "Hey, Rob, I bet there's not many atheists on this plane right now." And it's true. It's circumstantial.
true.
When it gets bad enough, you believe.
Oh, of course, for sure. You need that. Absolutely. Dr. Kelly, is there anything that we've missed that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, empowered people empower people. You can do it. If not you, who? If not now, when? Come on, get your stuff together. And also, jump on the website. There's a book there. It's the last thing my daughter said to me, which is, Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking. And we don't earn a dime off that. Every $9 spent on that, if you buy it, goes back out into the community. So what we do is we match what you guys buy in the book. So last year, well, we spent 100 grand, but the book only did about 3 grand, for instance. So buy it, read it, whether you're family, friends, whatever, and read it. It's a great inspirational story. It's some great advice. And if you don't like it and you've got to just wasted $9, find me on Facebook or email me. I'll refund your money and just give it to somebody else who might like it. And that's the only reason I pushed the book, is because of that. And believe you can do stuff, guys. You can literally change from listening to these podcasts today. You can literally change. Start changing your method. Start changing neural pathways in your head. 2 things. Get up in the morning, say your quick prayer, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Okay? You've just changed and created new neural pathways. When you go to work, go a different route. You've now created different neural pathways. Most of the neural pathways for the alcoholic are self-sabotaging. Why not create new ones? If I just do something now that I've not done, if I get this paperclip now and I put it on my forehead like that, that's a new neural pathway. If I throw it up in the air and try and catch it, that's a new neural pathway. When you get new neural pathways that overwhelm self-sabotaging neural pathways, you're onto something good.
Amazing. Lovely. Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for coming on the Habit Coach podcast. I learned so much talking to you, and I know that this podcast is going to be so valuable for a lot of people. We will be putting all your links and where people can reach you in the show notes as well. Thank you again so much for coming, and I hope that we can do one more soon.
Oh, absolutely. Look forward to it. And thank you for what you guys do, all 3 of you. You do an amazing job. I know Courtney researched you, and she said a couple of things. First of all, it's 7 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, it's 7 a.m. He said, yeah, but these guys, wow. I thought, great. And she was so right. Thank you for what you guys do. Thank you for all the millions of people that you help with the ripple effect, because sometimes this can be a lonely journey. But thank you so much, guys, for what you do.
Thank you so much.